Hey, y'all. Okay, so my name is Jessica. I go by Jessa Thought, and today we are talking about priority problems. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, the very first thing is a lot of people is not making themselves a priority, okay? And this is a big problem. The reason it's a big problem not to make yourself a priority is because you grow to resent other people. And you cannot, everybody knows that you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? And a lot of us try to pour from an empty cup. We think this is a big thing. Oh, I did something for so and so. Oh, I'm making sure they cool before me. That's not a flex, okay? And you hear a lot of people say that, and that is not a flex, okay? Because making sure somebody else's priorities is before yours, that just means that you gonna overwhelm yourself because you're making sure somebody else is cool before you. And you cannot pour from an empty cup, okay? You cannot pour from an empty cup. I don't care how much you try to pour from an empty cup. You cannot help people if you cannot help yourself. Okay, so you have to make yourself a priority. All right, so this is the number one problem in people not making themselves a priority. That's not cool. It's not a flex for you to be like, oh, I'm gonna make sure they cool. I'm gonna make sure they good. What about making sure you good? Who making sure you good? Who making sure you are right? Okay, so we want to make sure you're a priority. All right, that's not a flex again to make sure that somebody else is a priority over yourself. All right. The number two problem with not making yourself a priority. A lot of times, a lot of us don't know how to make ourselves a priority, okay? So we have been taught to make other people a priority. You try to make yourself a priority, and what would somebody say to you? They would say to you, oh, you're selfish. You only want what you want. And it's like, why they got y'all believing it? Because they want to leave you stressed, depressed, and looking a mess. This is why they tell you to make somebody else a priority. So you have to know how to make yourself a priority in this sense. And this is another problem, and a reason why people are not making themselves a priority is a lot of times because they just don't know how to make themselves a priority. Okay? The number three problem in priority making is you don't know what should be your priority, okay? Like, what's a priority to you, okay? Because a lot of times, a lot of people don't have their priorities in order. They prioritizing crap, okay? Or they prioritizing shit that's just gonna have you all over the place. You're not prioritizing the right things. And so you also want to look at that. That is another problem when it comes to people being not making themselves a priority, is they prioritizing. You'll have people prioritizing clothes over shelter, and it's like, what? You have people out here who believe, oh, I'll give money for clothes. Well, what about money for food? What about money for shelter? What about money for, you know what I mean? So your priorities they're not in the right place. Or you prioritizing going out. You prioritizing partying. You prioritizing drinking. And these priorities come over your kids, or these priorities come over daily necessity things that you need to survive. Not only survive, because we doing more than surviving, right? We gotta live, okay? We've been surviving all our life. Now it's time to actually live, okay? So you have to look at the things that you are prioritizing. Are you prioritizing the right things, okay? Because a lot of times your priorities can be in the wrong place, and I see it often, or somebody go buy a expensive ass car, and they got this expensive ass car, and they living in an apartment, or they living with their mama, or they living with their daddy, or they living with their grandma, or they living with a woman, but they car costs more than they shelter. Like, come on, really? And then and not only that, but you in the hood and you want to floss and flodge and, oh, I got this, I got that. Your priorities is fucked up, okay? And when you got fucked up priorities, you get fucked up shit, all right? And you don't know why your priorities is all screwed up. So you need to check that, okay? You need to check that, all right? The number 4th problem with priorities is you don't have any boundaries, right? So let's say you have these priorities. Let's say, your priorities is in place, right? Well, you don't have any boundaries, and then you just let anybody come in, and now they didn't interrupt it, and now you can't get to your priorities. You can't prioritize yourself. You can't do what it is you need to do because you have no boundaries, and you let somebody else come in and interrupt your priorities. You let somebody come in, and now they didn't came in and they didn't cause drama or cause havoc in your life, and now you can't prioritize. You're not even thinking about what's a priority to you. Now you all off focus. You all off key because you don't have any boundaries. When you have priorities and you like, okay, I got this is my priority. You're not gonna let nobody come in and just shit on your priorities, okay? So you got to put boundaries in place when you messing with people, or else people will come in and shake up your priorities, and guess what? Your priorities would no longer be a focus, okay? So that is another problem with priorities. And the last problem with priorities is you making somebody else a priority and they ain't even making you a priority. Okay? This a big one, okay? A lot of y'all out here, y'all doing stuff for people. Y'all doing stuff for other people when they your top priority. Oh, I love this person. I did this for this person. I did that for this person. And you want some brownie points. But that person don't feel the same way about you that you feel about them. You gave up your priorities for a motherfucker who don't care about you. You did that. And then now you want to fault them. You prioritized somebody else. You made them a priority over your life. And they did not make you a priority in their life, and now you mad, okay? This is a big problem, all right? You prioritize. This is why it is very important for you to prioritize yourself before you begin to prioritize anybody else, okay? But a lot of times, y'all making people priorities who are making you options, okay? And this is a problem. This is a big problem when it comes to priorities, okay? So when we talking about you looking at somebody and, oh, they your number one priority, but you ain't their number one priority. Why is that? Why is that? And now you mad, and now you feel resented, and now you feel betrayed. Oh, they ain't think about me like I thought about them. Okay, they don't feel about you like you feel about them, all right? So now you need to take note of that. You need to see that. You need to realize that, because number one, that was your problem in the first place for you making somebody else a priority over you. And this is why you should never make nobody a priority over yourself. You are the first priority, point blank, period. Not your mama, not your kids, not your daddy, not your uncle, not your man, not your husband, not your wife. You are the number one priority, okay? I don't care what they told you. I don't care who told you what. I don't care what they wrote where. I don't care what books say what. You are the number one priority. Again, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And a lot of y'all sitting up here, y'all prioritizing somebody else over yourself. And then you looking fucked up. You looking mad. You looking like, oh, they didn't do the same for me. And then you mad. That's your fault. Blame you for doing that. Blame yourself for making somebody else a priority over yourself, okay? And these are the problems when it comes to prioritizing yourself, all right? Okay, y'all. So, just a thought.